So student, today we will continue the chapter Principle of Inheritance and Variation. In my previous video, I told you about the chapter that Gregor John Mendel was the scientist who conducted so many genetical researches and delivered laws of inheritance. And these laws of inheritance are the basis of heredity, and these laws are the very first is law of dominance, and second is law of segregation, or it is also known as law of purity of gametes, and third is law of independent assortment. Gregor John Mendel proposed these three laws regarding inheritance, and these three laws were the basis of heredity. And in my previous video, I also told you that all these laws, what he proposed, was based on the genetical experiment, and the genetical experimental plant is what? Sweet pea. Why Mendel select pea? Because of 7 character, 14 traits, one is dominant, one is recessive, that I explained in my previous video. And beside this, you know that sweet pea means Pisum sativum is annual plant, means in 1 year whole life cycle can be studied, and within 10 to 15 years, 10 to 15 generation can be studied and find out the genetical researches. So first of all, we will discuss law of dominance. What is law of dominance? You know, what the original character Mendel studied in sweet pea, that is different pod color, pod height, pod shape, stem length. Here I am going to explain the law of dominance with some different example to make you easy. Mendel selected one character, that is flower color. Mendel selected one character, that character is flower color, and that character of flower color is with two traits. One is dominant and one is recessive. So the one plant is red flower plant, another is white color flower plant. Color of flower is a character, and two opposite trait. One is red flower plant, yeah, red color flower plant. Another is white flower plant, yeah, white color flower plant. And this is what the parental generation. And you know, in parental generation, genes, chromosomes, they were in pair. So in parental generation, I am going to show these genes or chromosome in pair. So these are genes or chromosome. I explain you just short after. Then earlier, you know, in our body cells divide by two type of cell division, mitosis or meiosis. Mitosis division takes place in somatic cells, normal body cells, for the purpose of growth, repair, regeneration. And meiotic cell division is take place in sex cells, genital cells, because meiotic cell division is haploid type of cell division. Diploid condition become haploid. 2-end condition become N. 2-end condition become N. that I explained in my previous chapter in human reproduction as well as in plant reproduction. So here I'm not going to discuss all these. Here we will focus on law of dominance. So what is this? This is parental generation. Plant of a species with two traits, red flower plant and white flower plant. At the time of sexual reproduction, gametogenesis will take place. At the time of gametogenesis, meiosis division will take place and condition will become from diploid to haploid. You may be consider this as male and you may be consider this as female. So when pollen grains or male gamete will develop in haploid condition, they will be denoted as R. Egg or ovum will form, they will be denoted as R. Means haploid condition will arise at the time of gametogenesis with the help of meiotic cell division. Now, during fertilization, this male gamete is going to fuse with this female gamete and condition will take place like this. Now, the question is what? This is next generation. This next generation technically referred as F1 generation. F1 generation means first filial generation. So in F1 generation, here you are observing one is capital R, one is small r, because I indicate red flower plant with capital R and I indicate white flower plant not with WW, that I indicate with small r and small r. Why I did so, I will explain you later. Now, when after fertilization in F1 generation, when the seed will form, the character will develop. Now the question is what type of flower will develop? So when Mendel conducted experiment and he noticed that in F1 generation, the developed plant produces the flower. These flowers are of red color flower. These flowers are of red color flower. So he, at the time in the beginning of their finding, he concluded that either from two parents, the character of one parent transfer constantly from parental generation to next generation, and this character transfer from parent to next generation with the help of a factor. At that time, genes is not discovered. Genes is discovered later on by the with the discovery of new Mendelism. Genes, the term of genes were coined. But at the beginning of these genetical researches, Mendel declared that there is a factor. With the help of this factor, one character of any one parent transfer constantly as such from parental generation to next generation. Later on, when we came to know that this factor is what? Genes. So here the theory developed that genes from the dominant trait will show their effect in F1 generation. So now what was the law of dominance? When a character with two traits cross together, then in F1 generation, no doubt both the trait comes together, but only the gene of dominant trait is able to show their effect. The genes of dominant trait is able to make their dominancy, to express their effect. So this is what the law of dominance. And so I asked you earlier, this I am not going to show with WW, this I show with small r and small r. This is because when we have to express the dominant trait, then dominant trait were expressed with capital and recessive trait means weaker. As I told you, one trait, this dominant trait is able to show their effect. This is not able to show their effect because this genes is of white color. And law of dominance indicate that when the genes of both traits are interact together at the time of fertilization, only one gene is able to show their effect in F1 generation, and this gene is referred as dominant gene, and another gene which is not able to show their effect, that is referred as recessive gene, weaker gene. So this is what the law of dominance, in which we came to know when character with two traits and the genes of these two traits unite together, only one trait will show their effect in F1 generation because of the dominancy of that gene. This is what law of dominance. One thing remember, this law of dominance will apply only in such condition when parents are pure or homozygous, not in case of hybrid. When the condition is like this, capital R, or the condition like small r, small r. Suppose if we conduct a cross in such condition, this is also red flower plant, this is also white flower plant, but in such condition we will not get the law of dominance. All the laws that I mentioned short before over here, like law of dominance, law of segregation, law of independent assortment, only will produce their effect or only will apply when the parental generation will be pure or homozygous.